we spend every year talking about don't make broad judgments about the quarterbacks in the spring game. However, no. So it's like, what are you going to do about what you saw from Michigan? Alex Orji throws 100 miles an hour, like almost every single pass. He's athletic. I don't know that anybody else can unseat him. Jack Tuttle didn't go, but it feels like this is Alex Orji's team to me. And I saw somebody else say, we saw Alex Orji, we're not scared. The Alex Orji that Ohio State sees is going to be far different than the Alex Orji in April. That's going to be perhaps 11 starts under his belt by that time. So he's going to be a different player, but I don't know that anything you saw from the Michigan offense is overly concerning at this point.
Yeah, the Alex Orji that Ohio State will face may be a 37% passer. Tremendous runner, can't throw the ball. Jalen Milroe is 10 times the thrower right now of Alex Orji. It's the same situation as Tony said. Don't be making wild extrapolations based on what you see in a spring game, especially Michigan split its roster and had its maize and its blue teams. It feels gross even saying those colors, but there was nothing there that was like, oh my God, they got themselves a dude at this position. I mean, the couple of guys that I think that we know about were there. I mean, obviously strong at defensive tackle. Obviously, Colston Loveland is a dude. I think there's some mixed opinions about what Donovan Edwards can do, but he did the one move that he does better than anybody else, and that is come to a complete stop, bounce outside, and then run for a long time. So if you can cover that move, then you're going to be doing pretty well against Donovan Edwards, who otherwise looks pretty pedestrian. But no, this isn't going to be a team that's going to go 4-8. But with their win total being at 9.5, I am still mining Bitcoin to put down on the under on Michigan's win total, because that's free money to me. There is no way that they are going 10-2, 11-1, 12-0. Period. End of story. Clip it. Freezing cold takes. Old takes exposed. I don't give a shit. They're not winning. They're not going over. They're not. And if you want to clip it, you're going to have me saying bad words.
Kevin,
just start saying a bunch of bad stuff right now, so you can't do it.
It's like when I get all these stock offers when I'm scrolling through my Facebook, all these stock groups, and we know the secret, ingredients, and we've got the formula, and you're going to make, 58% the next month and all that other business. But I'm, man, who has this? Who's telling the truth? So Kevin, I would love if I kept track of all your predictions, and then you could show me, okay, 8-2 or whatever it is, then yeah, I'd say, but I'm going to give this team a little bit more credit that they've got an outside shot to. There's a reason it's 9.5. And I know they just won a national championship, but Vegas is pretty smart when it comes to these estimations.
Not on this one.
I was going to say, I understand that this is the Ohio State show, but why, Mr. Host, do you think, other than Vegas seeming to think that they can get there? Look at the schedule. Look at their schedule. Look at what they have returning. Look at quarterback. Their defensive tackles are not going to be able to put them on their extremely broad shoulders and carry them to the promised land. It's just not there. They don't have the runway that they did the previous 2 seasons with playing Manny, Mo, and Jack, the Pep Boys, in their non-conference schedule. They play a real non-conference schedule, and just before it comes in, Ohio State's non-conference schedule is garbage this year. I'm not going to deny a reality. It's garbage, but they're not going to get front loaded with 3 wins right off of the bat. So I think 8-4 is the ceiling. I think 8-4 is the ceiling for this team.
I think their defense is still going to be lights out. They've got arguably the best cornerback in football. Their interior defensive line is going to be exceptional, as you mentioned.
No Rob
Their
Moore.
linebackers are probably the best in the conference, along with Iowa. Offensive line's not going to be an issue. I know Donovan Edwards. I guarantee he's going to show up for one game, and it's probably going to be a big game. He does that every year, but he's got to do that now like 12 or 14 times. So I get it, and I get the wide receivers don't scare anyone, but they do have arguably the best tight end in college football, and they're not going to roll out a quarterback there that's completely inept. This is not Iowa. They're not going to do that. It's going to be somebody that can get the job done. And if they rolled through this far and didn't go get somebody, then maybe it's Alex Orji. He is probably going to be the starting quarterback. I think it's about an 80% certainty at least that he's the starting quarterback.
But you said they were going to roll out somebody competent.
And we would have maybe made those same comments about Jalen Milroe after week 1 or week 2 of last season.
And
I mean, he got benched.
And honestly, Alabama kind of, scratched off the winning scratch-off ticket to get into the playoffs in the first place. I mean, an Alabama team that really should have lost to Auburn.
Sure.
I mean, the thing with Jalen Milroe is that at least Jalen Milroe has one throw in his repertoire, and it's the deep ball. So at least he's able to move the chains. Alex Orji, what can he throw? The swing pass? I mean, that's really, and even that, I watched some things that were not exactly right. So I don't see it. I understand, you talk about their linebackers, they go get Barnum from Maryland. I mean, they are reloading in certain positions that are, I think it's going to be impressive, but they also they had an incredible brain drain. And I may say that a little tongue in cheek, depending on how you felt about some of the Michigan coaches, but why is Wink Martindale suddenly going to be able to work for them now? Wink Martindale, who's been fired from many of the finest jobs in America.
Well, I would just say, Kevin, I am appalled. I am shocked. I could not disagree more about many things that you say. But with this thing, we just recorded a Buckeye Weekly that I'll drop later today. I suggested maybe Michigan go get Arch Manning, like do something to go get Arch Manning and bring him into the fold to help your quarterback situation. But looking at the thing about Michigan's schedule, it looks daunting and it's a tough schedule, but you get Texas at home, you get USC at home, you get Oregon at home. Like your biggest road game is going to be Ohio State, and you're probably going to be favored at every other road venue. So if you can steal one of those home games against Texas, and USC is not even a steal. Like if you can steal one of those games against Texas or Oregon, then I think you're talking, that 9-3 can become 10-2 pretty quickly, and 10-2 can get you into playoffs. I also don't know how good a quarterback you need to be able to finish top 2 in the Big Ten, as we've seen over the years. So I need to see a lot more from Alex Orji. He is not, I think he's thrown one pass in his college career. He's going to have to do more than that, clearly. But what happens if Michigan beats Texas in week 2? Like imagine the narrative at that point when everybody's going to be jumping on the Michigan bandwagon.
Well, then they can claim the September Heisman once again, but it's not. I watched the Texas
Fossier.
And while Texas was not exactly flawless, nobody's going to be flawless in their spring game. I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see them being able to put up enough offense. Blake Corum ain't walking through that door. They don't have somebody that they can ride like that. Donovan Edwards, they can't do that. I mean, Kalel Mullings. I mean, what are they? I mean, I don't see. They're not going to be able to be this fight you in a phone booth, lunch pail, blue collar, station to station type of offense. I don't know what type of offense it's going to be. No, it's not going to be Iowa. No, I mean, let's be realistic here. I can sit there and speak with a little poetic license for the hell of it, but I'm not going to just spread just straight lies. I mean, it's not going to be the Iowa offense, but they're not going to. they're not going to be able to carry it through a full season. And to Tony's point about a lot of the big games being at Michigan Stadium, well, that's nice. You know where your locker room is. You know the one tunnel, the fight tunnel that you have to go down and fight your way out of it and everything else. But it's not like, I mean, it's not like Autzen. It's not like Happy Valley. It's not like some of the bigger, home field advantages out there. I mean, it's a giant hole in the ground. The sound just goes straight up and out. I mean, it's not overly loud compared to stadiums that are 25,000, 30,000 smaller in capacity that are built up more.
But Kevin, the 105,000 people shaking those keys at the opponent, they're shaking their keys and they're creating a jangle sound. That is intimidation in its purest form.
Those and pom-poms, but I know Michigan's not the only one to do pom-poms, and I've even seen them at Ohio State, and I cringe. No artificial noisemakers or things like that, please. I mean, this is college football, sir. We don't need that crap.
Clanga.
Yet with all that, no one has beaten them at home since 2019, right? Ohio State, 2020 season, everybody beat them. Okay.
So nobody has beaten them at home since Connor Stallions became an integral part of the game. Okay. All right. I mean, that crazy coincidence.
And several of the key players on that run of teams are no longer going to be there. And you have a first-year head coach who, while he beat Ohio State, I'm not taking that away. That suspension that Jim Harbaugh had, he was able to be in the facility 6.5 days a week to set everything up. Let's see what Sharon Moore does on his own. Let's just not act like they're missing a couple of players and all is going to be right. Basically, we sat there and we just threw everything in a cup and shook it up and threw it out on the table. Now we're going to have to see what the pieces are.
We will see it all play out, but I tend to group games together and say, okay, what are the odds that they win these games or those games? And like Tony, I'm looking at Texas, Oregon, and USC, and I think that they can navigate that at 2-1. And even if they lose in Columbus, I am not saying that. Hang on. I didn't say that they're going to cover this 9.5. I just said it's not ridiculous.
They're not going to go 2-1 against those teams. They're not. Oregon is going to boat race them. I know Bo Nix is gone. They just turn around. They go pick up Dylan Gabriel. They go and pick up a couple more big receivers. It's just a reloaded type of system. So it's going to be a horrible matchup because Oregon is going to have an offense. For a former Pac-12 team, it has a defense. I don't know how well that's going to translate to the Big Ten. So I don't see that one happening. And honestly, I've seen enough out of Miller Moss to think that he's going to be able to navigate enough of that situation that they're going to be able to do it. I know Alex Grinch plus Lincoln Riley seems to be a much more strong combination than Lincoln Riley plus Alex Grinch.
So this is something we talked about, and I'll ask all of you guys this. You mentioned breaking it down into segments. The first 6 games they play 6, and then they have a bye week. Fresno State, Texas, Arkansas State, USC, Minnesota, all at home. Then they're at Washington. What is the most likely record that they come out of there with?
In your guys' opinion, between 5-1 and 4-2.
4-2 tops. I think
Steve?
they take Washington. They lose the other 2. They lose to Texas. They lose to Oregon.
Yeah,
Oregon's not part of that.
Wait.
We're talking about the first 6.
Texas. It was
Texas, USC,
Texas and SC. They lose both of those.
Okay.
Yeah, I think 8-4 overall is probably the high watermark for them. Again, Kevin said it's more than just players on the field. It's nobody even knows anybody else's name. I mean, it's just been a complete mass exodus up there, players and coaches alike. I do like their defense, like everyone said, but you've also got to be able to score points to win in these games. And You're not going to hold, all these teams to 15 points. So I don't know. It's gonna get ugly, I think.
I hope you're right, Kevin. I sincerely hope you're right. And I'm not claiming anything right now. I'll make a prediction before the season. But if somebody had a gun to my head right this second and I had to nail their record, I'd say 9-3. That would be my record.
8-4 tops. Print it.